tell me how to say ladies and gentlemen in gender-neutral terms.
Hey, yo. Hey, yo. Hey, yo.
I keep forgetting to fix that audio. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. We have a disembodied Derek McDonald. I said right before the show I'm going to buy him an extra long charging cable, but Derek is here. D-Mac with me, as always. Craig Lagans. Actually, they're always with me, as always now. Craig Lagans, Derek McDonald. We have some things to talk about this week. But since we're waiting for Mr. McDonald to come back to his computer, I'm going to bring up the first part of the Hogan stuff, where it seems that the ladies, or former ladies of the Hogan family, I guess they're former now, are starting to tell some stories and bring Mr. Hogan back to the forefront of perhaps part of the story he doesn't want to be brought to. Now, I'm not going to use this opportunity to crap on Hogan because God knows I don't need this for that. I'll use any opportunity I can because it's easy, him being a rat and a racist. But on top of that, allegedly, he might be an abusive, verbally and physically, an abusive son of a bitch. I don't know. But Linda came out. I'm not going to play the video because I feel that's also exploitive. I'm trying to be careful here because he likes to sue people, and I don't have millions. But she came out talking about how Hogan or Terry was terrible, and Brooke is not very good, not a very good person, and she's terrible. And then Brooke followed it up because Brooke, and I really hadn't noticed until she kind of mentioned it, has been relatively quiet and not been around the family a lot. And it didn't really occur to me. Last thing I remember years ago with her being involved in TNA, and she was better at it than her dad, acting wise. The Bubba Ray storyline. I mean, you can debate if it was good or not. I'm glad she gave it a shot. But then the stuff came out about Hogan using the N-word religiously in relation to people she was working with for her career in music. Because, of course, he did. Sorry, you couldn't find a bunch of white producers that were good. Tells you something, jackass. And we always used to crap on Nick because Nick Hogan, put a divot in his friend's head. I'm not being nice about that because fuck Nick Hogan. He took responsibility. No, he didn't. This family is a family of not taking responsibility. Hulk never took responsibility for being outed as a racist piece of garbage. He's only apologized for, this is the Cliff Notes version for those who were watching. He only apologized for getting caught. And certainly, I don't even remember, Linda has been kind of quiet recently, and I guess no responsibility taken on her end, but it looks like Miss Brooke might be asking for some responsibility and accountability. Because apparently there was a lot of verbal and physical abuse from both of the parents. And there was like a 4 or 5 page post she made about it. She finally broke her silence. And even at this stage, boys, I was shocked. Because even I I didn't think, no, that's not on the horizon. Oh, well, whoops, it is. What are your thoughts on this whole friggin' thing? I don't even know it anymore.
Go ahead, Jake.
So I used to work at JCPenney's when I was a senior in high school, and they used to have these J.C. Penney's presents like concert series, like what they used to do in the '80s, when
Mhm.
like Tiffany would come to your mall and she would sing in the middle of the mall.
Yeah.
And Brooke Hogan was one of the performers, which I was like, why is Brooke Hogan here? But whatever.
Mm.
And as a worker, we got to
Fair question. It's fair.
as a worker, it was Hogan wasn't there, but it was Linda, it was Nick, and it was Brooke.
Mhm.
And I didn't care about any of them, but I would hear the stories and people go, Brooke was very nice, but that son seemed like a jerk, and the mother was even worse.
Mhm.
And that always stuck in the back of my mind because
Hmm.
during all the stuff that's happened with this family,
Mhm.
Brooke has remained out of it. Like you said, the only connection was Hogan being mad at who she was doing music with. She wasn't around when Nick got into the car accident. Um, she wasn't around when I think people forget the Hogans got a divorce and Linda became engaged to one of Nick's friends for a short time. She wasn't around for that.
Yeah, they
Um,
both went young, huh?
yeah, Hogan, I don't think she was around when Hogan started dating a woman who looked a lot like Brooke, which was
Yeah.
terrifying. And in the later years, like you said, it never dawned on me that you would see these pictures and it was always Nick and Hulk
Mhm.
or Nick and his mom. Brooke was never anywhere to be seen. And I think a couple months ago, I saw something where Brooke was like, and she's very nice about it. She goes, "Look, due to things that have happened in the past, I choose not to have a relationship with my mother or my father. I wish them nothing but the best, but due to things that happened to me, I just I think it's better for my mental health and from I think she has kids now. I think she has two kids. It's
Yeah.
better for me and my family that I stay away from them." And that was it. And I thought, oh, okay, I could see. And then Linda shows up on TV looking like an ogre. Um, and all this stuff blows up. And now Brooke, it seems like they've dragged Brooke out to say why, like she's almost had to defend herself to go, this is why I don't want to be around these people.
Mm.
And it says a lot about her that the parents screwed up the brother, but Brooke, as far as we know, because who knows, the story could come out tomorrow. But as far as we know, Brooke has kind of been able to live whatever can be conceived as a normal life. My mom always says usually when people have two kids, one's a
Mm.
screw up and one ends up just fine. Sometimes you get lucky and both of them were fine. So I guess this is a case where Nick was the screw up, and as of now, Brooke is the one who has sense.
You know, it just occurred to me who she's married to.
Yes.
She's married to a goddamn Pittsburgh Penguin. I don't believe a word anyone. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I said Oleski. Name's familiar. Oh, Stephen Oleski. Oh, that guy.
Yep.
That guy. Yeah. Yeah. She was very much like she's moved on. She started a family with Stephen Oleski. Not getting involved, and I guess in like you said, between the two, between Terry and Linda, they started going back and forth and bringing Brooke's name into it, and Brooke was like, "All right,
Yeah.
I've had enough. I'm finally going to say what I need to say." It's up on the screen there for those
Mhm.
who are watching now. But yeah, and Oleski had to come out and kind of double down, like, guys, this is not attention. People were
Mhm.
saying things about her, and she finally opened her mouth and defended
Yeah.
herself. That's all that is. You know, I read that the Stanley Cup champion thing, and I still didn't pick up on who he was. I read this
Mm.
whole thing, and I was so focused on what she was saying. Yeah. So Oleski had to come out and even defend her. Not that he had to.
No, but it's his wife.
No. Yeah.
Yeah. But listen, I'm not. I ain't messing with Stephen Oleski. Man can. The professional athletes, the likes of Hogan's never seen. Not messing with that. It's just I have to feel for her, and I'm saying allegedly. Oh, you're the little babies. I have to say allegedly because this is alleged, but it's one of those things, Derek. Craig, and you haven't spoken on it yet, Craig, so I'll let you. But with all the other stuff, man, when there's smoke, there's fire in it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just,
Mm-hmm.
he's not helping his cause whatsoever.
No, you notice how all this Hulk Hogan stuff he's in the news almost every week now ever since the booing in Los Angeles that he received on Raw nearly a month ago. And the American beer sales aren't doing very well, and we commented that the last time we talked about the snafu at one of his signings, and that made news. So it seems like every week Hogan's doing something or saying something to try and get himself, keep himself relevant, even to the point of dragging his family. When you mentioned Hogan, Dan, I thought you were talking about Hogan and his current wife, who looks a lot like his previous wife. He obviously has a type. And they were eating popcorn, looking at Linda Hogan's picture or looking at a Linda Hogan video, which she looked like an ogre, Derek.
Yes.
So Hogan and his current wife eating popcorn, looking at Hogan's ex-wife. And I guess for click's sake, or to make it viral, why you have to poke, or why you have to have anything to do with your ex-wife, I have no idea. I mean, this is the attention grab of anything. One would think, I would say one would think if you're Hulk Hogan, you would do, but instead, because we're going into WrestleMania season, it was 40 years ago yesterday was the very first WrestleMania, 40 years ago. One would think if you're Hogan, if you want to keep your name out there in a positive light, talk about that night, or that day, or the WrestleMania, and the people that still believe in this Hulkamania garbage and still think of him as that guy. Why not mention that? But he's got to do everything but talk about what made him famous, and he's got to. Unfortunately, living in the present where his life is a complete ruin. Yeah, he's got a hot wife, hooray! But your daughter wants nothing to do with you. I don't know what his son, or if he's still in jail, or what his status is. But why drag your ex-wife into anything, or make it a? So yeah, this is all attention grab from Hogan at start. If Hogan had never gotten booed, you wouldn't hear a peep out of him right now. He certainly wouldn't be dragging his family into any shit. But it all stemmed from that.
I had no idea he was married a third time. I had no idea there was a third marriage.
Yeah.
That I also saw from what's her name's post, from Brooke's post, excuse me.
And I didn't either, Dan, until I saw the video of him making fun of his ex-wife. That I knew that.
Yeah, what a fucking. So much fun. What a fun guy.
Yeah.
What a fun guy.
But go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, karma always comes to collect. Hopefully karma's not too far behind, and hopefully it's not quick and painless.
Now that Derek's back, we can talk about the original first topic.
Yes. That was supposed to be at the end topic and really quick, and I've stretched it out long enough. And yes, Misty, Hulk found another reason to be a dick. I've stretched it out long enough, so I have other Booker T stuff to talk about, which is less about Booker T, but it's going to be a good segue. But there's a whole other layer to this. Let me rephrase. It's not to this. There's a whole other layer on top of this before we even get to my thing about Booker T this week and one Swerve Strickland. And Derek, you're going to be our correspondent, and I'm not going to comment on a lot of this because I am paler than shit. So I'm going to just let you guys go. I'll be right back, but keep talking. I'm listening.
Okay, so this is the gist of the story. Swerve Strickland did an interview, and the interviewer brought up some tension he had with Booker T because Swerve had brought up the lack of black wrestlers on WWE PLEs, and Booker T had responded that maybe it's not because they're black, maybe it's because they're not good enough. WWE doesn't hold people back because of their skin color. They probably hold people back because the person isn't ready or the right storyline, blah, 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 blah. This is what Booker T said in defense of that. So that was brought up to Swerve in an interview, and Swerve kind of went on the defensive, and he goes, look, Booker T has done a lot, he's done a lot for blacks in this industry, but he defends a company and he says they're not racist. He goes, well, what about when you had that segment with Vince McMahon, the famous segment when Vince McMahon says the N-word in front of Booker T, and then Swerve goes, well, what was that? Like, you stood by and you let that go. Was that not racist? And in response, Booker was very upset. And Booker goes, it was a long statement, so I'll try to condense it. But essentially, Booker T goes, look, when I got into the business in the late 80s, the early 90s, the things me and my brother had to go through so people like you could be successful for today, I think warrants anything I have to say in terms of racism in wrestling. He goes, racism didn't stop in the 90s when I got into the business. He goes, it was still there. To the point I like to point out, I believe in WCW, they wanted Colonel Rob Parker to have him and Stevie Ray come out in chains while he dragged them to the ring with chains around their necks. But that's neither here nor there. And Booker goes, I feel like I've earned to say whatever I want in terms of black wrestlers because I've sacrificed. I've sacrificed more than anybody could imagine. And Booker goes, I worked in companies where I was always on the pay-per-view. And it's because I was good enough. It wasn't because the color of my skin. It's because I was great enough. And then Booker went on to say to Swerve, in terms of the Vince McMahon thing and him saying the N-word, he goes, look, us older black guys have had to eat a lot of shit in this industry because we had to feed our families. We had to do a lot of things that we didn't want to do in this industry because we wanted to keep our jobs, because we wanted to feed our families, because we wanted the door to be open for younger black wrestlers in the future. So Booker kind of said that's why he let Vince say what he said, and that's why he continues to work for the company because I'm a pioneer, I'm a trailblazer. I had to eat shit so you wouldn't have to, which I kind of understand because as somebody whose family's from the South, I've heard plenty of stories from uncles and grandparents who they were put in a situation where somebody said something and did something and they wanted to kill that person literally, and you couldn't do it because you had a family to take care of. I get that. So a lot of people are giving Booker flack and they're calling WWE racist and AEW isn't racist and how could AEW be racist? Swerve is one of the biggest guys on the brand. He was world champion. When's the last time we had a black world champion? Blah 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 blah. So I'll say this, and I'll just get it out the way. Do I think WWE is racist? I don't. I think they're ignorant. I think they were ran for 50 plus years by an ignorant old white guy. I think wrestling in general is ran by a bunch of ignorant white guys. Do I think they were racist who he employed, who fed into his ignorance? By far. By far. But you can't tell me a company is 100% racist when one of the biggest stars is Bianca Belair. You can't tell me a company is racist when back in 2020, when it was Black Lives Matter and George Floyd and all these things, the company allowed Big E, Kofi Kingston, and Xavier Woods to every week come out with the names of a victim of police brutality on their wristbands.
The Hurt Business was during that time.
Yes, the Hurt Business. Like I said, I think they're ignorant. And maybe I'm being naive and thinking they're ignorant, but of course they were racists who worked there. Ludwig Borger is going to be on. He's going to be on. There's stories tonight.
Tonight, yeah.
Don and Ron Harris. They had the similar tattoo as Mr. Borger. And on the AEW side of it, because everything turns to tribalism in wrestling. You have people who probably don't even care about black wrestlers, but they want to use this WWE not booking black wrestlers on pay-per-view thing as a win for AEW. For you same people out there who's champion AEW for having Strickland there, we have a phrase in the black community that's called token black guy. That's what I feel like. Now, Swerve is amazing. He's entertaining to me. But I think he's been propped up so Tony Khan can go, look, hey, look what I'm doing. I have a black world champion. Because if you cared about black wrestling, I need you people to explain to me why before the Hurt Business was there, and they're the best thing on television, before they showed up to the company, why was Swerve the only black guy getting a push on TV? Why was Ricky Stark sitting at home?
Why was Hobbs?
Where's why's Hobson home? Where's Scorpio Sky? Where's Stokely Hathaway? They put the titles on Private Party just for them to be transitional champions. He fired he fired what's her name?
Big Swole.
Big Swole, and then proceeded to go on the internet and say, I fired you because you wasn't good enough. You know, where was all the anger when this stuff happens? You know, why was Athena stuck behind a paywall on ROH on a show nobody watched?
Right.
Leo Rush stood up for Big Swole. He was let go. He's back now, but still.
He's relegated, though.
Yeah. I hate when wrestling fans pretend to act like they care about something only to feed into the tribalism. Because people don't care. You know? I was watching Swerve Strickland last year had his childhood home burnt down by a guy nicknamed Hangman, who walked out with a noose around his neck at one point. There was no anger. There was no anger.
No.
And WWE has done horrible things. Saba Simba was terrible.
Yeah.
But if you ask Tony Atlas, he goes, I had to do it. I was homeless. I needed a job. Fine. The DX skit with the blackface. Horrendous. But there's been strong black men who were guys like Mark Henry, guys like Ron Simmons, who I think if they sniffed anything that remotely resembled hardcore racism, they'd be in jail for murder right now. So, like I said, in hindsight, I don't think they're racist. I think they're extremely, extremely ignorant. Now, to get to current day WWE, I think Linda McMahon being in the MAGA cult, and yes, that's what I call it. If that offends you, I don't care. I think her affiliation to that,
it's a cult.
Yes, it is. It affects the way they do business now. I think that's why they didn't acknowledge Black History Month. I think that's why they haven't acknowledged Women's History Month. You know, all these things they used to do, they don't do anymore. I don't even think they had like a video package for Martin Luther King on his birthday, when they used to have a video package every year.
Yeah, narrated by Vince McMahon.
Yeah, so I think they're ignorant. And in conclusion, because I'm rambling, please do not act like you care.
It sounds fantastic, by the way. So do it.
Please don't act like you care about Black issues if you're just using it to push your favorite 3-letter wrestling company, because it's very disingenuous and we can tell.
Yeah, well, Booker T mentioned that he confronted Swerve. I think it was this past weekend or the weekend before, and he said how disappointed he was in Swerve, because he was one when they were both in the WWE when Swerve was there, that he championed Swerve's cause. And it all came out when Swerve was on, I forget whose podcast it was on, when he talked about his release. And the way Swerve talked about it, he was kind of like guilt by association, because he was with Hit Row, and one of Hit Row wasn't particularly liked by the company. And because Swerve was the leader, it's like, okay, well, we're getting rid of all of them, and you too. Never mind that Swerve was the most talented and the one that was the only one that was over there. And they threw them all out. That can go with the ignorance, not so much the racial thing, because they brought them back, or I should say Triple H brought them back, but that was also on the other side, that was his way of bringing people back that Vince didn't like or Vince had a problem with. Swerve seemed to think that it was a targeted thing on him, even though he was associated. It was guilt by association. And he mentioned Booker T as being someone who, to him, was disingenuous because of Vince saying the N-word in front of him and him not doing anything. I think Swerve and Top Dolly also even threw Swerve under the bus as far as when he got and when I think this was on he was a guest on someone else's podcast, and he said that it was Swerve that wasn't being truthful about them being let go. I don't have any beef with Swerve. It always bothers me when I see it's like the whole struggle. I want to liken it to Will Smith and Chris Rock, but not in the same vein, and only because these are two high people in the industry where there's not a lot of high people of color in this industry. And when they're beefing with one another or blaming the other, it makes all of us not look good. And obviously, if two people are not on the same page, that's one thing. It's got nothing to do with race. But when they're both very they're both top guys in their fields, and they both blame the other for what they think is, or one blames the other, or one thinks that they should have done more or didn't do enough. That's what bugs me. Booker T said he wouldn't go on, I think it was the Vlad TV show. He had no interest in going on. I think Swerve invited him and said we should, or at least go on and tell your side of the story. And Booker T wouldn't do it. He said, I'm not going on, Vlad. I'm not going to be a part of this, going back and forth. He said what he said to Swerve when he confronted him. And it wasn't a mean. It wasn't, he wasn't challenged into a fight or nothing like that. He just said, I'm disappointed in you. Because the door, and Booker T, everything you said, Derek, was right. He did break down doors. And he did. I guess the converse to that is, well, there were black wrestlers before you that also had to swallow a lot of shit and take a lot of guff in order for a Booker T to be there. And you get to the top, Booker T, and the white man is still saying the N-word in front of you. So how far has he come? I guess that's Swerve's point to it of how he sees Booker T. Again, it's a shame. Both men are strong-willed in their opinion, and I'm sure they both think the other is doing well. I'm hoping this doesn't continue. I hope this is the end of it. Since Booker T did confront Swerve, I don't think there's any more to the story. There shouldn't be anyway. If Booker T does his thing and Swerve does his thing, but we still have a long way to go. I said all that to say that we still have a long way to go.
Yeah, and if Swerve felt away, and this is just me, the way I was raised, you don't, not that I'd ever be in front of a camera, but you don't make it public, especially if you're a young black man and you're in a business or an industry where black people before you have paved the way for you. If you have a problem with them, like Book said, I saw him, you could have talked then. I was raised by my grandfather that if you saw you always respect your elders, regardless of their color. But if you're in the South or anywhere and you see an older black man, you definitely pay your respects because you don't know what he had to eat in terms of eating shit for you to walk around and not be bothered in this present day. Ron Simmons and Ahmed Johnson hated each other.
Yes.
But they still went on TV and worked together.
Mm-hmm.
And you can argue, he hurt Ron. Ron came back and hurt him. They worked together for 2 more years.
I side with Ron on that one.
Well, yes, obviously, yes.
I mean,
But
white guy here.
There was some type of respect level for Ron Simmons where you would never hear anybody speak out on him. They said when Rock first got in the nation, him and Ron bumped heads, but he still went out there. He still worked with Ron, and he ended up respecting Ron. And I feel like Booker, to some extent, by Swerve, should be looked, even if you don't agree with what he said, and you feel a certain type of way about him. Let me not do this in the camera.
Right.
Because Craig, you know this. Black folks always say, "Don't you two fight in front of all them white folks so they can see you guys fighting with each other." That's what they want. They want you guys to fight amongst each other so they can go, "Look, there they go. This is why. Look at them. They're arguing and fighting with each other."
Yeah,
and I'm pretty sure there's somebody somewhere going, "Look at them. They're eating their own again. Look." So
because white
wish...
folks never do that.
Yo, yeah, there's no such thing as white on white crime. They only black on black crime.
Never happens.
But so I kind of wish Swerve would have pushed him, took him to the side and kind of
Mhm.
like, hey, Book, look, let's not do it for the cameras. Because for every Swerve, you got people like Trick Williams and Carmelo Hayes who adore Booker T.
Yeah, and
And,
over. Over Saturday.
yeah.
I
And like we said, go
let me
ahead.
say, as the white dude, um, there's not a part of my body that doesn't believe that Swerve doesn't adore Booker T.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
And I have a feeling, and I haven't said anything on social media because A, who the fuck am I? And B, white. I've seen a lot of white folks talking about this, and I'm like, none of your business. This is none of your business. Um, Not in that way. If you want to talk about Vince McMahon, the one that sticks with me is the N word. It doesn't. It's the one that sticks with me that's harder. I thought, and this is from a white guy because I've never been called N word. I have, but I always get confused. Is when he said it was a promo, but when Vince said to Roman, "You were 3 steps away from having a bone through your nose."
Yes.
That one stuck
Yes.
with me. Like, oh, brother,
Yeah.
Vince, come here, come here, Vince.
Yeah. Yeah. So ignorant. It's stupid. Yeah.
But I feel these two guys, these guys probably align more than they don't align about this issue.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
really do feel that because Shane Swerve's not stupid.
No.
Swerve knows what Booker T had to go through. Again, we mentioned the Colonel Tom, the plantation owner gimmick that they only went half with. He still came out dressed like it because yippity do. Yeah, that's a I no, this is not my place. Go ahead, continue. I'm sorry.
No,
It's not my
no, but
place.
you're right.
Not.
You're right, though, because like me and Swerve are in the same age range. So we grew up watching wrestling in the same era. It was Ron Simmons when we were very, very small. And then it was nobody. It was Mabel. It was Ahmed Johnson. And then Booker T became the guy. It was very slim pickings in between all that. And of course, you had the Harlem Heats and Miss Jackie's here and there. But in terms of being the guy, it was Ron and it was Booker. That was it during the 90s. And then you came and you had the Sheltons and the R-Truths and the Lashleys. So I'm sure he adores Booker T. And for my generation, we look at Booker as the guy. Like that's why like I said, New Day adores him. And I think if they sat down, which apparently they did, um, they would, hey, let's agree to disagree. Also, Booker is I've met him at an autograph signing. He's a very big, very scary man in person.
Big
Very scary.
dude.
TV does not do him justice for how big
No.
he is.
He's twice
And
as thick as Brett there, and that's in '98.
he's humongous. And I would think if he was legitimately upset at something, he would rip somebody's face
You'd
off.
know.
He
You'd probably know.
actually, all you gotta do is listen to the stories they tell about the fight with him and
Derek,
Batista.
Derek, after you wake up, you just you look at the person next to you, go, I think Booker's mad at me.
Yeah, it's yeah. So,
Yeah,
but
good point.
in this day and age, I think we all shouldn't because this is probably the strongest in all the companies that like black wrestlers have been.
Yeah.
Because you got the Prophets, you got Mercedes, you got Swerve, you got all the
You got
young
the
guys like
bloodline.
Mello, you got all the bloodline guys, you got
Hurt
Trick Williams, Javon Evans, Obafemi's a young guy. This is you got Ashe wrestling. It's so many things you can pick from
Yeah.
in this day and age that I don't think we should be on camera going back and forth about a promo from a guy who isn't even involved in the industry anymore. If anything, we learn from it, then we move on and we do better.
No, you know what I would like though? I would like Booker to go on. I mean, I would like Swerve to go on Booker's show.
hmm
Yeah.
Like, all right, you don't want to go on Vlad's show. I totally get it. And Vlad, shut the fuck up. Stop talking.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Right.
All due respect, I'm a
Yeah.
nobody. You're a somebody. Stop.
Yeah. And
I've almost responded and I backed up. I was like, never mind.
But he sees Vlad as the instigator. That's why he won't go on the show.
Yes. Yeah. That's what he is. Yeah.
Yeah, and
He is.
yeah. Well, and you're very fortunate. You know, I always ride the young folks because they don't know how good they have it. Because you had it good, Derek. You grew up in an era like that. I had an even longer stretch in between black wrestlers being the guy. I grew up with Bobo Brazil and Ernie Ladd, and Ernie Ladd being the guy. And this is the same. And not only being a guy, being the guy in different territories, but this is the same Ernie Ladd as a heel who would downgrade other black wrestlers, who said he wanted to send Tony Atlas on a one-way plane ticket back to Africa. He said he said this on Atlanta TV, or he called Ray Candy Uncle Tom, or Thundermouth Patterson, and all these. But when he was a heel. So that was my guy. So that was the early '70s. So it wasn't until in some way Rocky Johnson and Tony Atlas won the tag team championship. But guess what? They couldn't stand each other either until years later. So there was a huge gap between those guys and until we got to a Booker T and The Rock. So yeah. Going forward is the only way we can go, but we're living in the single greatest era of black wrestlers, young black wrestlers, influential black wrestlers. Because there's some kid right now that's watching the Hurt Syndicate or remember the Hurt business in WWE when they were all champions. And part of the ignorance is the only time in WWE history that the World Tag Team Champions changed hands between two black tag teams was only because Vince changed his mind about the Hurt business and wanted his black wrestlers to be happy-go-lucky clowns and fools like the New Day, instead of having a black stable of champions like the Bloodline. But yes, we always forward, never back.
Yeah, it's funny you bring up Ernie Ladd because I look back and I watch Farouk at the height of the Nation, and I remember he had kicked Crush out, and he kicked Savio Vig out, and he said the Nation was going to be bigger, badder, and blacker, and he brings in D'Lo and Mark Henry joins, and he brings in The Rock and all these guys. But there was a point where he's feuding with Ahmed Johnson, and he's calling Ahmed Uncle Tom, and he goes, "You want to be white so bad." He goes, "They could come out here and sandblast your ass for 2 straight hours, and you still wouldn't be white enough for them to accept you." And I remember I was at home, and I was just like, "Oh my God!" But if you look at that character, for as big as he was,
guys, I gotta go.
They still didn't push him enough. There's no reason why Farouk couldn't have been world champion for 4 months during that reign. So even then, they still weren't pushing him. Right? He would just talk so bad about Ahmed.
Oh my God!
But
I'm just picturing him. I'm just picturing Ahmed responding, and half of us going, "I don't know what he said."
And I remember Vince would be like holding the microphone, and Vince would be like, "Come on, that's not necessary." And he'd be like, "Shut up!" And Vince would sit there with his head down, and he would just go on and on and on. And even then, he it took Mark Henry 15 years for him to get a world title. You can argue D'Lo never got his proper, love.
D'Lo never got his proper rub.
And not that he's saying he should or he would, but that one could only point to draws as to why.
Yeah,
because to a man, everyone loved D'Lo. Even guys understand each other like D'Lo. You know.
So
oh my God! I found it.
You see, he was like a week, like a month straight. He was just coming out and blasting poor Ahmed.
Yeah.
He was just...
What the fuck was he gonna do?
But
I mean, I know Ahmed's a big guy, but Farouk is like an all American athlete. Like, what is he gonna do?
Well, you see, when he came back from his injury, it took one kick for him to destroy Ahmed's, like, was it his liver or his kidney? It took one kick, and he took the guy out for $9.
lacerated his kidney.
Oh my god, I'm watching it with closed captioning.
He was just he was so he didn't look he didn't look like Ron Simmons from WCW. He was like even somehow they made him scarier
Oh
in
my
WWE.
god.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
have
yeah.
forgotten about that, and that is the greatest thing that I cannot laugh at past this podcast that I've ever seen.
Yeah, he was awesome. But like you said, now we're in a time where Swerve was world champion. Lashley was world champion, and he got to drop it to Big E. A year before that, Kofi was champion. Obafemi was champion. Carmelo Hayes, Trick. All these guys have been champions in their respective TV shows. We shouldn't still be arguing about stuff like this. We shouldn't.
No,
I agree.
Well, I mean, I don't. Never mind. I agree in principle.
And before we get off it, hey, European crowds, I don't know what Bianca did to you guys, but the fact that you booed her
Be nice,
every
you
week,
assholes.
Yeah.
she did nothing but be herself.
Yeah, it's like, can we get Bianca back stateside soon? Because
poor
I
Bianca.
don't get the.
I'm sorry, boys. I have to play this.
Here is Ahmed Johnson on all that thick black skin of his is a white man that's dying to get out. He wants to be pretty like Shawn Michaels. He wants to be like Steve Austin. Well, I got news for you, Ahmed Johnson. You couldn't be white if they sandblasted your ass 20 times. Here he is.
Amazing.
Oh my
It's amazing.
god, dude.
He's the best. He was the
Oh,
best.
you know, Jim Ross is just sitting there with his fucking Hoosier loving ass or boomer shooter. Oh, don't
Come
smile.
on.
Don't smile. Don't say a word. Oh, Jesus Christ. No, you can't say that. Shit.
And that's from a guy who they would lead you to believe wasn't a good promo in WCW. He was cutting those promos. It was amazing.
Who the fuck? I have, again, I'm so slow with it because I'm so far behind on everything else. I'm still in my 1993, which I got to get it done before they delete everything off the network and put it on YouTube anyway, but at least I'll still have it. But Ron Simmons was great. What the fuck are people bitching about?
I think,
Craig?
My bitching about Ron Simmons came because his promo skills were practiced in WCW. Even when he was world champion, he didn't get the kind of promo time. That was his training school. Because by the time he got to the WWE, and he went in full attitude mode and said to him, "Say whatever you want, and I'll approve it." It's like I'm trying to get heat. I'm trying to get viewers. I'm trying to get clicks. So I remember that was the same show. I think when DX was trying to get women to show their breasts on camera.
Yes.
So this is firmly in the Attitude Era. So Vince had no problem with. I don't think he even okayed it, even if he had the script ahead of time. He just said, "Say whatever you need to say to get Ahmed Johnson, get people to watch your stuff." And so that was it.
Yeah. I saw an interview with him, and they asked him about his promos around that time. He goes, "I would just try to go out there and think about what I could say to make these white folks so mad that they would want to jump over the railing, and so I could kick their ass." He said, "That's all. That's what my mindset was when I would cut a promo."
And Derek, that came from the Ernie Ladd playbook of promos, because when Ernie Ladd had to do a promo against another black opponent, like a Tony Atlas, like a Bobo Brazil, or a Ray Candy, or Thunderbolt Patterson, and especially going out to when he would, like I said, he said it on Atlanta TV, in predominantly black towns. He knew exactly what to say and when to say it. He'd have a different promo, like say if he was in New York promo, when he'd wrestle Bobo Brazil in WWF in the Northeast, he'd say something different. But when he was in Florida, or if he was in Texas, whole different promo.
You know what I just thought about? Any of the things we mentioned on the show today, we could end real quick if any one of the participants just comes out. April Fools. Just kidding.
Yeah.
Except Brooke. No, I'm not kidding. That's
not that.
As a wrestling fan, I want to see, because I adore Swerve. I keep wanting to call him Shane Strickland. Sorry. I adore Swerve. I've watched him for years, mid 2000 teens and CZW to now. And I fucking adored Booker T in WCW when he went on that singles run. I will still not skip if it pops up, no matter how many times they upload it or whatever clip it is. If I see Bret Hart, Booker T, I'm watching.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because Booker T, because those matches they were going around because everybody else in the neighborhood watched Raw live. I was the one watching WCW and reporting to them, Booker T, Brett, Booker T's going to be a star. Booker T's going to be a champion soon. It was 2 more years. No, yeah, it was 2 more friggin' years, but finally, Bash at the Beach, he got the title, and I'm glad it happened because Hogan's a bitch. But
yeah, look, yeah. Me
I
and my
want to see
friends
them
were
patch this up as a wrestling fan and a
yes.
fan of both of those men. But I also have a bone to pick with Booker, which I'll bring up in a second. But go ahead.
I was gonna say it's funny you brought up Booker because me and my friends we all watched it, and I remember this is how stupid we were as young
Oh
kids.
no, yeah,
Booker when he changed from the Harlem Heat gear to like the long leather tights. I remember my friend Jamal's like, "That's it. Booker's gonna be champ. Look at him. Look how he's dressed. That's it. Harlem Heat's
I
dead.
mean,
Booker's gonna be world champ." And we had to wait like 3 more years for it to happen. But yeah, those matches
you
with
know,
Brett, the matches with Perry Saturn, the matches with Rick
yeah,
Martel when he came back for a little bit.
yes, the
Booker,
Rick Martel
yes.
single stuff with him and Booker. I want to work with Booker. Those guys were tearing down Nitro's first hours because that's where you put him, Eric.
Yeah, and we'll skip over the GI Bro years.
Oh, yes.
Listen,
Oh, when he lost the letter T to Ahmed and Stevie Ray.
listen.
Midnight.
Without talking about the racial connotations, I really liked him wearing the face paint and coming out to GI Bro.
GI Bro.
I get it. I'm not condoning it. I was just like, yeah, this is why he's gonna be champion. Boy, did I not get it.
He overcame a lot
So
to get
much
to where in both companies to get to where he was at.
Yeah.
I will say now as the token white dude, I will say, all kidding aside, I think there's validity to both of their stories. Of course, Booker.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
We all watched it growing up. I mean, Craig was already 80, but we all watched him go through it. Even if we didn't really know what was going on, in retrospect, we're like, oh, yeah, like GI Bro.
Yeah.
Like bringing it back on Nitro because of the MIA.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, even
giving a guy from Alabama a Cajun accent. Sorry, Lash LaRue.
No, I was gonna say even him finally becoming a top guy, coming to WWF and hurting Austin his first night in the company, having The Rock go, "Who are you?" Blah blah blah. Getting beat up in the grocery store.
Getting the Mark Bagwell match.
Yeah, all this stuff he overcame. You know, the match with Edge at WrestleMania for a shampoo commercial. Like all these things that he overcame.
Yeah, the Triple H promo. Guys like you don't win.
Yeah. Dance for me with your funny little hair. Like all those things. You know, and just for the record, I think he was supposed to win that match, and I think they showed up that night, and Triple H was like, "I don't want to lose." That's just what I think.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I still get my ass chapped watching the match where he.
I can't watch it again.
Oh, me, I've only watched it one time. I haven't watched it since it happened. I don't watch it.
I watched it live. I was infuriated. Yeah.
When everybody asks me, why don't you trust Triple H? And I go,
yeah.
I have 2 reasons. All right, let me drop 2 names why I don't fully trust. I like what he's doing. The show's better than it has been in years. But I want to say this. There's 2 names. The reason why I don't trust Triple H fully. Booker T, Sting.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because he's never going to let go of that WCW bias.
No.
Speaking just because your name was terrorizing.
Yeah. But and that's where he met all of his best. That's where he met Hall and Nash. That's
before you
and Regal, yeah.
Before you transition, because this is not really about Booker T, but I just wanted to. I just want to bring this to light. Not that it isn't to light, which is part of the problem and why I'm infuriated so much about it. Booker T, why? Why are you doing this, man?
Why
are you working with this man? Why are you working with this man, Booker?
That article you sent that was like somebody reporting it. It referred to Booker T as a convicted armed robber. I was like, golly.
Well, yeah, one of my friends came in. Didn't Booker T? Oh, it's on the thing. I don't want to call him out. Booker T did serve time for armed robbery. Booker T did his time and more. Everybody hides behind justice until they don't want to hide behind justice anymore.
Yeah.
Man did his time, got his kid back in custody, and the Booker T you see today. Comparing the two is unbelievable. He's working with that cracker ass looking motherfucker, Chasyn Rance. Here, let me just okay. Public knowledge, guys. Everybody knows.
It's not hitting at all.
Everybody knows he's a pedophile.
He's a sexual
Cancel my podcast. I don't give a shit. Everybody knows this dude is what he is. He's admitted it on the podcast. Thank you, Duke.
Yes.
Hey, shout out to Duke for being a shithead and doing an interview with this guy because he basically admitted to the whole thing.
And I hadn't heard his name since, I believe, during the pandemic, AEW used his ring.
Yeah,
and because isn't he friends with Kenny Omega or something? Like I think
anymore.
Kenny Omega's like
Not now.
well, yeah, but
Kenny had to come out, apologize, and be like, "I didn't know anything." Yes, you did.
Yes,
everybody knows.
Come on, it's like Rob Feinstein. Everybody knows.
Everybody knows he was trying to diddle a little boy that day. Everybody. It wasn't by the police. Oh, well, I'm sorry.
So you did it.
So this motherfucker is still allowed to run, book. He works with underage kids at the training center, man.
Yeah.
And he's still. What's the point then?
The only thing I can think of is because it's Florida, I guess. But
well.
Even then, like, everybody wants to protect the kids. Every time I turn on TV, I hear, "Let's protect the children. Let's protect the children." Well, when are you guys going to start protecting them?
Protect the children unless it's a trans person.
Unless it's these schools where drag queens are reading stories to kids every day before nap time.
Or guns.
Yeah. Oh, don't talk about that.
Yeah, well, I did. But yes, you're right. No, I just Booker, all due respect. I even tagged him. I was like, "Sir, come on."
Yeah, he has to know. Somebody had to tell him. Yes,
this is bullshit. Why are you, of all of the people who doesn't need to cater to this man, to get in a wrestling ring, why did you cater to that man? He doesn't need to. He can walk into any school and go, "Hey, can I train here for a couple hours?" "Oh, yeah, sure." Please.
And there's not a check big enough he can write Booker to justify Booker doing that.
No, I don't get it.
Not at this stage.
I don't get what video he has from people. What the hell's going on? The man's been outed 58 times. I just don't get it. I was very upset. I was like,
and he hasn't spoken on it yet, right? He hasn't said anything about it.
Well, you ain't gonna answer me. Who the fuck am I?
Apparently he said he did know about it.
He did.
Yeah. Well, just like you just got through, how could you not know?
Yeah.
So that's what. Yeah.
Our old friend and frequent guest. I gotta get back on the show. The Chris Kazama did reply because Vlad, on one of his many tirades, Vlad had. Chris Kazama said, "Remember when you tried to get Morgan Jerkins fired from Princeton because they rightfully told you to stay out of black people's business? And then you tried to spit it by saying, and then you tried to spit it by saying you started a conversation about race relations when you were really backpedaling from superiority."
Yes.
He hasn't responded yet to Mr. Kazama.
That's my problem. That was my problem with Swerve too, is look where you went to talk about this. Look at the platform you use to say these type of, and that's what AJ Francis kind of said the same thing. AJ Francis was like, "Look where you went."
Oh wow, is that what he looks like?
Yeah.
And and AJ Francis also said, like, because Swerve alluded to somebody being like getting loud with Vince McMahon and being a problem backstage, and AJ Francis goes, "Look, they fired B Fab. She was a part of our group. I stood up for her. You should have stood up for her too, Swerve.
Right.
Especially as the de facto leader and the biggest name in the group."
Yeah.
But it's just a lot of different. I wish it could all just. The only thing that would have made this worse is if they would have did this in February.
Yeah.
That would have made it worse.
Yeah.
I guess my only other not counter, but the only thing I can add to it is I already said that I understand both their perspectives because
Mm-hmm.
I mentioned the bone through the tooth, through the nose, the N word. Is it the same segment where he says it to John?
No.
Or does he say to Booker? And I'm
No,
confusing it with John Cena.
because Cena was there and he was kind of like trying to be cool. And then he walked and he's
Yeah,
like bobbing and he
yeah.
sees Booker and
What's
Charmel
up,
goes, "What
Mike?
up?"
Yeah,
And then he walks away. Yeah.
Booker's a better man than I. So,
Yeah,
I
I
don't
would have been
know.
like, "There's no way. We can't do this. There's no way we can.
It
Come on."
Dean always brought that up, talking about Vince was like, people defending it because, well, it was written and approved. And Dean be like, I don't give a fuck who wrote it and who fucking approved it. I don't care. You don't
Yeah.
write that. Being who you are, you don't write it. You don't
don't.
put yourself in that position. You don't put it out there, especially you, Vince. You walk away
And
from it.
and it's such a complex situation because Bobby Lashley, who's also a very proud, scary black man, when he left WWE, he goes, "Hey, I left because I was a Vince guy." And Triple H didn't know what to do with me. And MVP kind of said the same thing. I was a Vince guy. I'm not one of Triple H's guys. So it's so complex that Vince said that, but then you have these other strong black men who Mark
There is a
Henry's another one.
possibility that Vince was like, all right, man, people do grow up. It takes them, sometimes
Yes.
takes them too long.
Yes.
Like Vince, where it's already too late. Like, I used to be really shitty about this, and I've realized that, and these guys are good athletes. Why am I not pushing them?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
speculation. I don't know. I'm not Bobby Lashley or who's the other? I forgot your name.
MVP.
The other name you just brought up. MVP. Yeah, I'm not those guys. I certainly can't put myself in their shoes to guess what they're trying to say.
Yeah.
But
I mean, look, it took, other than Rock, who was half black, it took Roman to come in to be the first Samoan that Vince didn't book like a savage. Like Roman and the Usos were the first three. I mean, Umaga, God bless him, and that was less offensive. But even Umaga was kind of like a throwback. They didn't let the guy talk till he got fired the month after that.
And
So
the first Samoan they ever pushed to be a world heavyweight champion and got a monster push, they had to pass off as Japanese.
yeah, like I look back at some of that head shrinker stuff.
Yeah,
It's terrible. They're eating chicken
yeah.
like
And
off the bones.
and they bring Alpha out of retirement. He's got to walk around with a shrunken head around his neck.
Yeah, and they could have just been the Samoan SWAT team. Like,
Yeah.
why do they have to be that?
Because that was a WCW invention, and I actually was a world class invention that went to WCW.
just so you don't think I'm making it up, that's Matthew from Botchamania quoting what I was just quoting from Vince to
Oh, I
Roman.
believe you. I remember.
Yeah.
It's even worse than I said it. Roman, I'd like to remind you, you're just one generation away from a bone through your nose. Wow.
And if you want to promote them as like, because I went to school with Samoans, I played football with Samoans. They're legit scary people. If you
Yeah.
wanted to book them like that, just book them like how you're booking Jacob. Jacob
Exactly.
isn't a savage. He's just a scary man. So all you have to do is book him like Jacob.
Well, that's who Alpha and Seeker were. They were just,
Yeah.
And how they got into the business when they went to see Peter Maivia, their fellow Samoan, who they never met a day in their life. They go to Roy Shire's San Francisco, the wrestling company, and when Peter Maivia was the big baby face, and when the heels would get the better of him or something, they would walk Peter Maivia back from the ring, and they'd go to the heel and legitimately beat the shit out of him. And whenever anyone tried to start anything, they would beat the shit out of them. So Roy Shire had to take Peter Maivia aside and say, "Hey, you know those two guys that that's coming to the ring with you, whether you want them to or not? Either smarten them up to the business or fucking train them, because they're beating way too much of my audience." And the rest is history. But yeah, again, because they're two scary looking guys. And
Yes.
Alpha, imagine two Jacob Fatus. in their prime.
No, thank you.
Yeah.
I think it was Gerald Briscoe. They were asking him about why the Samoans are so close with the McMahons, and he said I think it was like in the 70s, early 80s when Vince would go out in New York to party, he would take Afa and Cinca with him as his personal bodyguards in the club because they would just clear anybody out who tried to mess with Vince while he was partying.
I
Well,
mean,
you heard the story, Derek, about the trial, the steroid trial, when Vince was
Yes,
looking for, was possibly looking at jail time. He had the
yes,
Samoans sit in the courtroom and had them just stare at the jury and just
yes.
not guilty. And the whole job was just was for Afonseca to just stare down the jury and scare them into saying not guilty.
They're all scary. They're all
Oh yeah.
terrifying. Yoko's terrifying. They're
Ming,
all terrifying to me.
Haku. Well, we don't talk
Yes,
about enough Haku.
Yeah.
But
Haku's
whenever somebody
yes.
brings up Haku now, I just laugh my ass off at thinking him laughing his ass off at seeing the Shockmaster for the first time.
For the first time. Oh, Fred.
He can't stop laughing. Is that Fred? Oh my
You know
god,
my
I never
fa-
see that. Oh, he fucking fell on his ass. He can't stop.
there's a promo he did. I feel like it was like it was either on WCW Saturday Night or Main Event or one of these shows they had syndicated, and he's doing an interview with Mean Gene backstage, and he's talking in Tongan, and Mean Gene's like English, and he goes hola, and he goes no English, yeah. He goes parlez-vous français? He goes English. He goes oui oui. He just leaves. And like it's the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
Hold on, let me bring this up real quick. This is still
That's the only thing that disarmed me about Haku, because I never seen him smile. I never seen him like that. So to see him like that on Dark Side of the Ring, it's so endearing because his laugh is so infectious. Because I didn't even know he had a laugh. And the thing is, it's weird because every person to a man said what a nice guy he was. They peppered it with what a legit tough guy he was, and the biting off his nose, and you don't want to mess with him. And he was one of the two
Remember the
that
Shockmaster?
was afraid of.
Buster.
I want to show you the clip and get your reaction to it, okay?
Okay.
He is none other than the Shockmaster! Right. The Shockmaster! I told you.
Did he just fuck up the gimmick?
What do you think of what you just saw? Crazy, right?
Yeah.
He's so happy.
Oh my goodness.
He's
It
so
looked like he
happy.
hit that thing and come down. he was looking for the gimmick. Swimming, looking for the gimmick.
That's awesome. That's the best.
Fred, I still love you. I've never seen that shit before.
He's so happy.
Oh my god.
he's crying.
I felt like he hasn't laughed like that in 20 years.
Oh, he probably
Fred, I
had.
still love
Everybody's
you.
interviewing him about wrestling, and it's all miserable. And he's just
Fred,
like,
I
"That's
still
the
love
funniest."
And even in laughing, he's still sweet enough to go, Fred, I still love you. Like,
Love
don't
you,
be
yeah.
bad at me.
Yeah, but I still ain't gonna mess with. Jericho tells a great story about them in the airport in Mexico. Of them, trying to run through, and then and Haku just chucking guys around, and then getting stuck in the prison all night. Like, oh shit, or whatever. I think it was the same. It was after the same show where the promoter wasn't going to pay him or any of the boys, and Jericho's trying to get his money, and then somebody tells Haku he's not paying us, so Haku goes upstairs. He gets that money real quick.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Derek, you still with us?
I think he had to go. He had to hard out.
Nah, he might come back.
Okay. Again, one of the fascinating things about Haku is especially when you look at him now in that clip, you look at his forehead, no gig marks, because
No.
Yoder said, we don't have anyone tough enough to even get you to bleed. So, but yeah, he's one of the few that went through unscathed in his career.
Oh man! Speaking of Uncle Fred, he's going into the Hall of Fame, man.
As one half of the natural disasters, I feel better for John Tenta than I do for Uncle Fred. I don't think either one of them deserve it, but hey, they're in, but Demolition isn't. Go figure.
Yeah, who pissed off who on that one?
Well, Bill Eadie, he was one of the outspoken people about Chris Benoit's death, and during the steroid trial, he wasn't exactly on board with them. And pretty much anyone who's not in the Hall of Fame was because they pissed off Vince in some way or another. I mean, this goes all the way back to Ivan Koloff, who's still not in the WWE Hall of Fame, and Stan Stasiak, who's still not in the WWE Hall of Fame, and Ken Patera and Rick Martel, who are still not in the WWE Hall of Fame. And now that Triple H is in charge, I'm sure we will see those guys at some point, but these people that he's picking now, I mean, the natural disasters, or even last year with Mike Rotunda and Barry Windham, they both deserve to go individually for their careers, especially Barry Windham. But as a tag team, you gotta be kidding me. And the fact that Triple H is in charge and China's still not in speaks volumes of who Triple H still has to answer to.
Seeing Billy Gunn talk about her so lovingly, made me mad all over again.
Yeah, it's never not going to make me mad. That's another tragic tale. Speaking of tragic tales, Derek mentioned Dark Side of the Ring tonight. Also, Daredevil tonight. Another tragic tale.
Another tragic tale. Yeah. We also almost lost Mick Foley today.
How did that happen?
Oh, you don't know? Well, this is his car. That's what's left of the car.
He only had a minor concussion. Was he driving?
Yeah, I guess.
Ouch.
I have no idea how I'm still walking around after this accident. I'm in the hospital now, and I'm sore from my knees to my neck, including a minor concussion. Yeah.
Mick's on his 8th life already, so wow.
Yeah, really. Hey, Mick, you want to hire a driver?
Yes, please. They have things called Ubers now.
Let me see. Yeah, well, I mean, if he's driving to another town for a meet or a
signing or something.
A lot of money. I was looking for him on Twitter, but I think he probably left Twitter.
Yeah.
And I can't find any other posts about this. Oh, on Instagram, idiot. Just said Instagram.
Wow.
Go to Instagram. Duh. Fucking moron. Oh, we're doing this live. Hold on. Nick Foley.
We're doing live.
By the way, I don't care. There's a little Philly talk to end this show. I don't care who you are and what you've done in your life. You're not charging me $16 for a cheesesteak, Mr. I won't mention his name just in case. All due respect, sir. No.
Okay.
But I do hope you put Steak-em Up out of business because fuck Mike. Fucking loser. Yeah, no other update. Just
okay.
Everybody giving him shout outs, and he's alive. He's got a concussion. He looks best he's looked in years, but and he's about 20, 30.
Yeah, he's a little older than me.
He's about 30, 40 yards away from the road.
Oh.
I don't know what kind of car he
has. Yeah, and I also don't know what I'm hoping, because they were, especially in the Dark Side of the Ring episode last week, talked about his mental, condition. I'm hoping that's not what caused the accident, that he didn't just veer off the road. As much as I don't want there to be another, some asshole, cut him off or something. I want it to be that, put it that way. I'd rather it be that than to hear that he doesn't know how he lost control of the car, or he,
Hey, maybe he fell asleep.
I don't.
That
Yeah.
happens a lot. But anyway,
Yeah.
we lost Derek. It's all good. We've come to the end, and I'm glad that I let you guys go on that because, again, I have nothing to say. I have nothing. Not my place. I hope they both find a common ground.
Yeah.
Because we're gonna need it going forward, and especially in America. But anyway, Craig, where can people follow you?
They can follow me if they'd like at Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, with Threads at Craig Lagons, CraigLiggeons.
And Craig, stay with me after the show. After I run the end credits. Follow the HIAC Talk Radio at HIAC Talk Radio on Twitter and on YouTube, where the episodes will be airing live, unchanged, unedited, unless Dan says something stupid in the third person. So it's what is the actual page? It's not HIAC Talk Radio because that's Dean's. He probably would have given me access, but I didn't feel like taking over another YouTube page. And I'll never remember this. Hold on, folks, it's worth it.
Yeah, it is.
Probably. Come on, Dan.
You got this, Dan.
Oh, just type in HIAC Talk Radio on YouTube, for fuck's sake. You'll find it. God damn. Oh, HIAC Talk Radio _2. There you go. On YouTube. Follow me on all social media platforms, DanLaw83. And for DMAC, yeah, Twitter, if you type in DanLaw83, I still come up. There's another one that comes up, but we don't pay attention to that one. For Derek McDonald and Craig Lagons, I'm Dan. I'm funny. Keep it on the paper. Good night.